Hi everyone, welcome to this Maths Craft 1 Outcome 2 lecture on shape, space and measure. This is the second one and we're going to be looking at circles just now. Okay, so firstly we need to be able to identify all the various different parts of a circle. So on this circle here, the blue line is the radius, and the radius is a line from the center of the circle to the edge. Okay, and it's half the length of the diameter. Now the diameter is a line from one side of the circle which passes to the other side through the center, and that is twice the radius. Okay, so the key thing about the diameter and the radius is they either go to the center or they go through the center. And the other special word is the circumference. So the circumference is the outside or the perimeter of a whole circle. Okay, and then the full circle, again, the green bit is just going to be the area of the circle. So we've got the radius, we've got the diameter, and we've got the circumference, which is all the way around. So to calculate the perimeter or the circumference of a circle, there's a special formula. So the circumference is going to be pi times diameter. Okay, so C is equal to pi d. Okay, now you need to be able to remember that. And the area of the circle, we're also going to use this thing called pi, and that is pi times the radius squared, or pi r squared. So this pi thing, pi is a Greek letter. It's used in circle calculations and is just a constant number. If we're rounding it, we can equal it to 3.142, but I would get used to using the pi button on your calculator. Okay. So two formulas to remember. This one here, circumference is equal to pi times diameter, and this one here, area is equal to pi times the radius squared. So a couple of examples. The radius of this circle is 0.6 meters. So firstly, what is the diameter of the circle? Remember, the diameter is all the way across the middle. So the diameter is going to be 1.2 meters. That's going to be useful. So calculate the circumference and the area of this circle. So I've got the formulas here. So the circumference is going to be pi times diameter. So that is going to be pi times 1.2. So I'm going to use the pi button on my calculator. Now, if it comes up with a fraction and then the pi symbol, you need to press this button on your calculator. Written there. Okay, it's above the delete button on the Casio calculators. If you've got a different calculator, you might need to do something different. Okay, but if you press that button, it will change it to a decimal for you, if it doesn't already come up as a decimal. So as a decimal, I get 3.77, and that is going to be meters because it's a length around the outside. Okay. Now the area is pi times r squared. So that's going to be pi times by the radius squared, and the radius is 0.6. So 0.6 squared. So A is equal to, take this new calculator again. Okay, and again I have to press that S to D button, which gives me 1.13, and that, because that's an area, it's going to be meters squared. Okay. Let's look at another example. So the diameter of this circle is 32 centimeters. So the first question is, what is the radius? Well, the radius is half of that. Okay, so that is going to be 16. Okay, and then we're just calculating the perimeter or the circumference and the area of this circle again. So the circumference is, remember, pi times d. So that is pi times 32. Okay, again, it comes up on my calculator as 32 pi, which isn't helpful. So press this button above delete, the one with the S and the D on it, and it comes up as 100.53. It's going to be centimeters. And then the area, that is going to be pi times the radius squared. That's going to be pi times 16 squared. Again, need to press that SD button. So I get 804.25 and that's going to be centimeters squared as an area. Okay, I'm going to look at a slightly trickier example. We need to work out the perimeter and the area of this shape. So I've got to split it into various different parts. So I'm going to call this top semicircle A and this right-hand semicircle B. And I'm going to call this inner rectangle C. So to work out the perimeter, I'm going to need to work out the length around the outside. So that's going to be this length, this length, this length, and this length. Okay? Not the ones on the inside, just the ones on the outside. So for A, that is a semicircle. So I need to work out the circumference and half it. Okay, now the diameter of that circle, we know is 12. We can see it at the bottom. So the circumference is going to be pi times 12. This is for the perimeter. Okay, so pi times 12 gives me 37.70. We're in meters. Okay, but because it's a half circle, we need to half that. So A is going to be a half of 37.70. So 18.85 meters. So that is the length of that bit there. Okay, so we've worked out that bit. We're now going to work out B. So we're going to work out that semicircle. Now we know that the diameter for that is 7. So the circumference is going to be pi times 7. Which is 21.99. But again, because it's a semicircle, we need to half it. Okay, so we're going to do 21.99 divided by 2. Keeping this to 2 decimal places, I get 11.00 centimeters. Okay, so that is now this length here, around the edge of that B. So all we've got to do is we've got to add on this first length that we found, add this second one, and then add on the 12 and the 7. So the perimeter is going to be equal to 18.85 plus 11 plus 12 and plus 7, and that will work out the total. That gives me 48.85 meters. Sorry, there as well. Okay, so that's the distance around the outside. Now it's also asking for the area of the shape. Okay, so we're going to need to go back and we're going to need to work out the areas. So we need to work out the area of the two half circles, A and B, and then the area of C. So for the area, so for part A, we need to do, because it's a half circle, we need to do a half of pi r squared. So it's going to be a half times pi times, and then the radius of the circle A is going to be halfway, remember, so that's going to be 6. So it's going to be a half times pi times 6 squared. Which gives me 56.55. Okay, so for part B, again, we're going to do a half of pi r squared because it's a half circle. And the radius for B, well, the diameter is 7. So the radius is 3.5. Which gives me 19.24. Okay, and the area for C, well, that was just a simple rectangle. So that's going to be 12 times 7. 12 sevens are 84. So then the total area is just going to be all that added up. Total area of 159.79, and that was in meters, so it's meters squared. Okay, so the work I would now like you to do is on Moodle, go to the outcome 2 workbook again, and I want you to go to do the examples on SAQ 3.5, which is on page 18, and then 3.6, which is on page 19, and then the extension exercise, which is on page 21. Okay, so that's the work for today. As always, any questions, please type in the chat or get back in touch with me next week. Thanks now.